Hi there, I'm Stephanie Mann at safekidsnow.com, and I'm honored to be here today and talk to an amazing lady that has suffered through child abuse, and she grew up in a cult. Her name is Rebecca Kimbel, and I'm honored to have Rebecca here to discuss child sex trafficking, which is a national epidemic, and the taxpayers are paying the bill. So, Rebecca, can you enlighten us about what is going on in America with child sex trafficking and how you were involved?
I would like the citizens to understand that sex trafficking of children is a national problem. We think that it only goes on in prostitution rings where pimps are and where children are stolen, taken to other countries, or brought in from other countries, which in itself is horrifically high in numbers. But what many people fail to realize is the sex trafficking going on in the name of religion. We fight in this country for freedom of religion, but there is no freedom if that religion denies human rights. I was born in a fifth-generation polygamist family. I was married as a child bride. I was literally sold for cash. I had 9 pregnancies and 6 living births, all except one, by the time I was 23. My story is not unique. When I was a child, there were hundreds of girls with stories like mine. Today, there are thousands. We see the Learning Channel presenting polygamy as a lifestyle choice. And yet, Cody Brown and his family are related to me. They come from the same cult I came from. And they don't want the public to know that polygamy was a mandatory commandment for our eternal salvation in our alleged religion. I say alleged because the crimes hidden under the cloak of religion in these cults are many. Physical violence, emotional and mental violence, post-traumatic stress disorder, child rape, child brides. The sex crimes are very, very extreme and more than in monogamy. Many people don't realize that the crimes in polygamy do exceed the crimes in monogamy. Why? Because it is a fact that the distance between the powerful and the powerless is the same degree of abuse that goes on in those relationships.
Tell me a little bit about the sex trafficking that you saw in the cults.
I have relatives, female relatives, in every single polygamous cult that I know. Every cult stands up with its prophet or leader and claims to be the one and only mouthpiece of God on earth. Yet, if these men actually believed that, why would they traffic their daughters into other cults? I have relatives trafficked in every single one of them. If you look at Winston Blackmore and the newspaper articles that came out in the Vancouver Sun, they were trafficking girls from Arizona and Utah into Bountiful, Canada for child brides, and back and forth they were trading. Somebody sent me a picture of 57 of Warren Jeff's young wives. All but one of that 57 were related to me on my mother's side of the family. Their surnames all appeared in the genealogy book. The one that didn't was the little Zitting girl. Charles Zitting and my father served time in the Utah State Penitentiary for polygamy. Really, it wasn't for polygamy. They had child brides, but according to them, it was persecution for their religion. Oh my, they persecuted those men for their religion. Their religion was to traffic girls back and forth, to have them have babies every single year, and most polygamous children, whether they're born in a cult, or whether they're just baby mamas in the ghetto, or whether they're just under slavery and have no rights somewhere USA or somewhere in another country. Most of them especially in the USA, are supported by your tax dollars. And you are not solving polygamy. You are enabling it because these women have no rights, not even to their welfare checks. Of course, there are a few exceptions, but you notice I said a few. Women that are entrapped by the fact that they could be impregnated are slaves. They are sex slaves just as surely as those that are sold by the evening. Sex slavery is a growing problem, and surprisingly enough, it is not just a problem of women. We have a greater and greater sex slavery of little boys. America, you cannot solve this problem by turning your back on it and pretending it doesn't exist. You cannot solve this problem by looking across the sea and pointing a finger at somebody else. The only way you can solve this problem is to look in your own backyard, acknowledge what you're seeing. You can't change something you will not acknowledge. It's an inconvenient truth. Face it. You're going to have to deal with it because it is growing into epidemic proportions. Stop the child trafficking. Stop presenting polygamy as a lifestyle choice and degrading women. If love were multiplied, as Cody said, then his wives would have a multiplicity of love, but they get less and less and less of a husband as the family grows, and the children get less and less and less of a father. And Cody's example is so incorrect because he has all the money from sister wives and he's doing financially well, so it's not so hard. So comparatively speaking, his wives have got it good. But if you want to know how those women feel, they would feel exactly the same way Cody would feel if he had to listen in the next room while each of them took on another lover, and especially if the wife was the only wife he would ever have. That's how they really feel. They're human. They feel the same way you would feel. Trafficking, human violations, human rights violations, inequality, dual standards, that's not unity, that's not justice, it isn't even humane. America, look at your backyard. Face this fact and don't accept it.
Thank you so much, Rebecca Kimbel. We appreciate your sharing your story, and we will wake up. It's going to be a slow process, but it's going to happen thanks to you. Thank you for sharing.